15 years, bruh. 15 years. That's how long I've been making games. It all started with Game Maker. I'm not talking Game Maker Studio. Nah. I'm talking Game Maker 8, Game Maker 9 type beat. Way back in like 2010, bruh. I tried to make this game called Banana Man. The first question you might ask is, why Banana Man? Well, you see, I was 10 years old and didn't have skills to make any real art. So I had to use the art that came with the engine, which just so happened to be a bunch of fruit. So I was like, okay, what if you play as a banana who goes on some grand adventure, and then along the way you have to avoid all the other fruit who's trying to kill you. But that junk was it was junk. I didn't actually finish the game. It wouldn't have mattered anyway. That game was trash. That was really the only game that I ever made outside of Roblox. Roblox was whenever I really took off and started making games. My first ever game on Roblox wasn't even really a game. I just took the level that everyone's account comes with and then just added a bunch of random crap to it. After that, I did try and throw together a couple games here and there, but like literally all the games used free models, which is basically like the Roblox version of free assets from like the asset store on like, I don't know, Unity or something. These games are not actually games. 100% of what was in the games was made by someone else, and like I just threw together a bunch of crap. The first game that I ever made that actually had some real structure and thought to it was Echo Dimension, which was just this like little hangout place with a bunch of, again, free models, but at least there was some structure. At least you could see some planning there with, you know, like the different assets and, you know, their placement in the world and blah blah blah. But over time I got tired of using free models, using these assets that other people made, and honestly the stigma of doing that on Roblox was strong enough to where I was like, no, I have to learn how to code. I have to learn how to script and make my own stuff. And so that's what I did in like late 2013. And the first game that I made was the Row Hub. And you could tell, bro, like the quality was still crap. The Row Hub was basically just like a little hangout place where you could, you know, you could dance, you can sword fight, you can just, you know, chill and talk. But it was so large. You're on this giant island. The server can only fit like 20 dudes. And I'm just like, bro, why you make such a huge game for like a server with only 20 dudes? That don't make no sense. That was my first game. It is like first game, I guess. It wasn't really a game because there's no gameplay. You're just kind of talking and hanging out, but whatever, right? So anyway, I did end up making some other games, but around this time, this was whenever I really started to just throw whatever at the wall and see what sticks. Bro, I'm talking like, if you look back at the games I was making in this time period, bro, I was making like some random obbies. Bro, I was making like Survive the Killbots that shoot rockets at you that'll blow you up, building houses with like proper floor plans. Bro, I'm talking, I was making like bases, like castles that were on wheels that you could like drive, and then your people on your team could, you know, hit up the other team and then shoot them and take care of them. I was making Among Us before Among Us. I was making like this mobile game called Bucket Cannon where you had to pretty much collect these buckets, or sorry, you had to collect these balls inside your bucket and then shoot the balls at the other guy. Bro, I'm talking, I was making like the world's hardest game, but in Roblox. Just anything, dude. I was just making literally anything. I had 1,000 game ideas. There's so many games that I'm not really including in this video. There was this other game where basically you would press a button, and then there was one game I made. It was called like Turkey Defense or whatever. I basically challenged myself to make a game in less than 24 hours. You had to defend your houses from these like killer turkeys, these giant turkeys that would like gobble you up or whatever. I don't even know. Bro, I remember whenever like the Minions movie came out and every single game on Roblox was trying to like hop on the Minion train. There were so many games that were out that were just slop, just trash games, low quality. Ain't nobody putting in no effort. And yet those of us who did try to make games with effort, our games were not successful. We didn't make any dough. So I was like, you know what? Screw this. I'm going to make a Minion game with very little effort. And I'm the one who's going to make a lot of dough. And what I made was this boo-boo game where there was a castle and then the minions would spawn and then they would walk to your house and then press a button and then blow you up, and you had to pretty much defend your house from the minions. And bro, the game just was trash, bro. Like, I understand the idea of trying to have like slop and that makes money, but bro, I went way too low quality, bro. I don't know what I was making, bro. Bro, there was this other game I made, Sewers of the Awakened Undead. This game was a zombie horror game where basically you went into the sewers and you tried to like descend deeper and deeper and deeper, fighting off stronger and stronger zombies. I never finished it, but it was a cool idea. I did eventually make like a remastered version. I never actually finished that one either. There was this other game I made called Scavenger Quest. I'm not even gonna waste time on this one. It was basically just an egg hunt, except replace eggs with giant balls. There was this other game I made. It was pretty creative. It's called Vehicle Mayhem. The idea was it was a capture the flag team-based game, right? Except the route that you would take from your base to your enemy base, you were not allowed to touch the floor, because if you did, you would just straight up die. You had to drive a vehicle from your base to the enemy base. It's a cool idea, but it never actually kicked off. And bro, I can go on and on and on. There were a couple of games that were big. These games, I spent months, years, to be honest, working on these games. And the first one I want to mention is Ultra Cube, the 8 Shards. At its core, Ultra Cube is just another obby. It's an obby with 8 levels. It's a short game that you can beat in like 1 hour. And it's honestly a very basic obby. However, this is a full game. It has music, a story, it has actual game design. It's not just a bunch of random assets thrown together. This was one of the first games where I actually tried to limit the amount of usage of free models and the amount of usage of stuff that other people made. But as far as the game design, the level design, the game developed, everything, the code, everything, almost all comes from me. So this was a big thing. It took me a couple of years, and this is like my child. I love this game, and I literally, like, last week I just had to update this game again because due to the Roblox updates, the game just kind of breaks, and so I have to come back and fix it. Ultra Cube the 8 Shards was the first legitimately commercial product that I made. I can confidently say just the amount of effort that I put in, the amount of money that I put in, and it was a commercial failure. Bro, nobody played my game, bro. Nobody played my game. It was sad. You know, you put in all that time and effort and money, it just doesn't work out. But Ultra Cube is always going to be one of those games that I look back at and I'm just like, that is a good game. The other game that I made that's on that same level is Ultimate Brick Battle. In my opinion, it has an even higher quality than Ultra Cube. And that makes sense because Ultra Cube came out in like 2016, 9 years ago. Ultimate Brick Battle was released as early access. I think it was 2021. Yeah, it was 2021. I had more experience by that point, and it's just a better made game. Of course, there were mistakes that I made along the way. I didn't plan it out correctly, and there were a lot of changes that were made to the game during the game's development. But it's still, I look back at it, and it's a very well-made game. It's a very unique game. You look at a game like COD, and what you see in those games is that everyone inside the lobby, inside the server, will pick a map and then go into a round that lasts, 10 minutes or 20 minutes, whatever, right? But what I made was a map that dynamically changes over time. There's chunks of the map that get erased and then replaced with something else. I think that concept itself is very unique. I haven't seen that anywhere else. There was a full store and everything. It had all the bells and whistles of a proper game, but it also was a commercial failure. I put in money in that game. I advertised it. I tried to make it big, but bro, that game just flopped. It just is what it is. Ultimate Brick Battle does use a lot of assets from others. All of the chunks of the map, all of the music, the sound effects, and the weapons all comes from other people. But as far as the actual game design and the game development, that's all me. Ultimate Brick Battle is a really good game. It is really fun, but it's just another commercial failure. Another game that I made that is on the same level of quality is Fuera de la Frontera. I looked at Ultra Cube and I looked at other obbies and I said to myself, dang, this game is really easy. I need to make a game that's really hard.
That's probably the most infuriating part of this entire fucking obstacle is this dumb ass, stupid shit.
I didn't make this game with the intention to make a commercial product that would make a lot of money and this and that. It kind of was just like a passion project. Now, granted, I did advertise the game to try and attract some people to play it. It still was a failure, but looking back at it, I think that the game is still really good. It is a very basic game compared to Ultra Cube and compared to Ultimate Brick Battle, but it is still, in my opinion, a really good game. So yeah, that's basically my entire history of making games in the last 15 years. It hasn't been a consistent 15 years of game development. I definitely took time away from it in certain cases, but I just always find myself time and time again coming back to this idea of making a game because, ever since I was a kid, I wanted to make a game, like a commercially successful product that would just be so big and so great. And I think that even though my life has changed and I have other projects and ambitions and blah 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 blah, it's just like I still keep coming back to this idea of, man, how cool would it be to make a game that people really truly enjoy? And so that being said, well, all I can say is stay tuned because something is on the horizon.